Okay, now that we have all of our things glued together and everything is pretty much dry, we're going to move on to the next step. Now what I want you to do is grab your D, which is your 5 shelves that you have. I need you to grab those, and as well as you're going to use your E, which is your guide tools, and then we're going to use our back. Now I have 2 sides for these that we need to do, which is going to be G. So we need to do our sides, so you'll need G as well. We don't need any of the other ones for right now. So right now we need the back part, we need both G's as in go, we need our guide tool, and then as well we need our 5 shelves that we're going to be using. Alright, so getting started, what I did was I grabbed cardstock. I like to use 110-pound cardstock, but that's my preference because I get the packs from Walmart. So, and I've always been using this 110 pound. It never gives me any problems. So what I did was I cut them all in 1 1/4 inch strips. 1 1/4 inch strips. And this is just the 8x11 cardstock paper. So what we're going to do is, once you've cut out, you know, quite a bit, I'm sorry to say, but because I do a lot of wrapping with a lot of things that I make for storage, like in reference to my strip box that I made. This is roughly about 12 inches, my strip box is, and right here I just got lots and lots and lots of strips. So I kind of like overdid some of them and went overboard, but as you can see, I've got lots of strips. So what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to take our scoreboard. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our scoreboard. Let me scoot you guys back out. I think you're a little too close. Yes. Okay, so now that we have our 1 1/4 strips, you're going to take your scoring tool. These are by EK Tools, or EK Tools, yes. And with the 1 1/4, you're going to find the center, which is going to be, I'm going to have you score at, let's see, this one, no, this one, and then this one. So you're going to score at 1/2 inch, and then you're going to score at 1/2 and 1/8. And that's how you're going to score. And you're going to get little ridges in there to where we pretty much put this in the middle. Okay, so we're going to be using this once this is folded and creased, that these are actually going to go on the outside perimeter of your all of the things that we need to put this all together. And I'll show you guys how we're all going to do that. So once you get pretty much a lot of them all scored and you're ready to go, then we're going to move on to the other step. And the other step is going to be using glue, and we're going to glue this onto our board, onto our shelf, our chipboard, and then we're going to make sure we cut it. Now when you put these on, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. When you put these on, you've got to make sure that your white goes all the way, your white strips go all the way to the side of the chipboard. Okay, so when you get ready to trim, put all your trim pieces on, you want to make sure that the chipboard is not showing. Okay, so let's go ahead and just kind of get some of these scored together. Oh, excuse me, I've got allergies so bad. Alright, so we're going to go to a 1/2 inch and then a 1/2 of an eighth. Half, 1/2 and an eighth. All we're doing is making a valley that's 1/8 of an inch that's going to be helpful to wrap around your chipboard. Now, once you get to doing this the first time and you want to make more of your ink storage units, I mean, you'll breeze right through it in no time. Like I said, the biggest part of it all was just was cutting out all of the chipboard and then gluing them all together. And then you know, of course, making sure that it all gets glued or gets dried glue before you mess with it. I think that, you know, that's important, is that you have to have a staging time where your things dry completely. And once they dry completely, then you can go on about your business and finish doing your process, your creation. Process of your creation. So, the weather is gloomy here in the mountains. It's like, looks like it's terribly fixing to rain. So they're calling for snow this weekend, but I doubt very seriously we'll get any snow. It pretty much breaks up before it gets to the mountains here. But yeah, it does look pretty gloomy. My husband and I are coming into the shop this weekend, so I'll be able to do some things. Hopefully I'll finish this up today with the recording, and I'll get it ready to get downloaded to YouTube. And yeah, so I've got lots of work coming up and lots of time to do the work, which I'm super excited about. Okay, so once we get our strips scored, I need you to go back and just do the creasing. You don't have to be real strong at the creasing here. You just kind of want to make sure that it's getting its getting its form, so that way you can put it on top of your chipboard. So all we're doing is just sitting here doing this, and yeah, I got a whole stack of them. I already got all of these all done, so we'll be using these. So, and I'm also going to be using art glitter glue to put it on our chipboards. So get all these done. I think I only have like one left to do. I didn't really score too many of them. If I need more, I've got all those strips that I had, you know. So let's just go ahead and press these in place. I know it's kind of hard with 1/8 of an inch, but it can happen. You can get it scored. And this one wants to be a little wonky on me. Okay. Alright, so now that we have all of those done, and we have our D, which is our shelves, and then we have G, which is the side panels. Okay, so now we need to take, I want us to go ahead and I want us to wrap this completely around with our white strips. Now, because I already pre-folded these, I wanted to show you what it would really look like once they're on top. But it gets glued down just like this. Okay, so all I need you to do is make sure that it's right there to the edge. And this is where we're just going to pretty much mark with a pencil. Let me find my pencil. Sorry guys. Moving everything out of the way to get to one thing. Is that not your story? That's my story. So let's go ahead and mark this with a pencil. Find my little pencil guy. Here he is. Everything gets stacked on top of. Okay, so what we're going to do is make sure that's to the end. And then all you're going to do is just pretty much cut your, do the pencil mark. Okay, and then we're going to cut these. Okay, so make sure you cut them pretty straight. You don't want to cut them wonky, because if you do, then it's not going to go from one side to the other side to completely cover up your chipboard. So it kind of just sits right in there like that. And if you can notice, I don't have any chipboard showing. Okay, so, and all we're going to do is simply take our art glitter glue. I haven't used this in a couple of days, so I got to make sure it's not clogged on me. Little fine tip that the art glitter glue comes with, which is really nice and handy, is because so you won't, so you're imprecise with all the glue that you're going to do. So just follow your edges. This doesn't have to be, you know, glued down perfectly, because we are going to be putting on some designer paper, and we're going to be doing that within it too as well. So, and you just kind of make sure that it's glued down really nice. Make that edge really, really good, and make sure you're covering up all of the chipboard. And then you're just going to simply score, not score it, but use your bone folder and press out that glue, so that way you can get a really good, nice contact. Now on the very top, if you'll notice, I have where I have the top that's really nice to the edge. So if you can see that, it kind of looks like a little 1/8 of an inch square. So, but it puts a really nice edge on it. And we're just going to continue. Save these pieces though, because you can use these in other parts of the chipboard where you have to cover. So what we're going to do here is make sure that we're all the way to the end. Mark our spot. And then cut. And then we're just going to glue it right to the chipboard. We're going to just simply make sure our edge has plenty of glue. I'm not very straight with the glue today. As you guys can see, I'm getting it everywhere. Alright. I'll place this on there. Get a really, really nice edge. Get that glue where it's making good contact. Then that's what our corner looks like. No chipboard is showing. Sorry, I'm shaking. But no chipboard is showing. And it's a really nice clean edge there. Okay? So that makes a really big difference when you're doing these kind of things. Is normally you would take your paper and wrap your corners, and then you would have corners to tuck in. Well, by doing this, where you're taking your strips and you're covering up your chipboard like this, it makes a really nice clean contact, and it doesn't put bulk inside of your corners. Alright, so we'll get another one, measure it out, make sure it fits really well, make sure it comes right to the edges. Alright. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to mark it where we need to cut it. and then cut. Now, when you're sitting here doing this, and for some reason you might have a little bit of overlay on it, you know, your white strips, it might come over a little bit because you just cut too long. It's okay, because if it does come over, all you got to do is just take the scissors and cut your excess off. So I think it's going to be just fine. Alright, so what we'll do is just add more glue. And I think this is probably going to be the most gluing part, is going to be to put the strips on the edge of the your chipboard and make sure it gets really nice and glued. And then we put it on the edge, and we kind of just rock that 1/8 of an inch. We kind of just make sure that it is right on top. Okay. There we go. And just go ahead and use your bone folder and straighten that out and get yourself a really, really good, nice edge there. Okay? And then I usually, if for some reason my corners aren't sticking down very well, maybe because I didn't get enough glue right there, I'll just take my art glitter glue and I just added a little bit of glue right inside there, and then let that dry, and now it's okay. Alright, so we'll do another one with you guys, and then I think it's pretty much self-explanatory on the rest of them. Like D for the shelves, you do the same thing, same concept. You know, place a sure to fit, then mark your with a pencil, and then cut. So all of these are going to get covered, even also the G. So these will get covered too as well. So I'm going to finish this one here with you guys so you guys can see exactly what it looks like. I think doing it this way with the strips that come up right next to the edge really does help as far as making sure the chipboard isn't being shown. And what I'll do is I'll get the rest of these done. I'll come right back. Okay, now that we have all our edges covered with our cardstock, and they seem pretty dry to me, so I think we're ready to go on to the next stage. Alright, so the next stage is that first of all you have your back panel. Now I need you to make sure that your top and bottom measure out little over 6 1/4. It might be 6 1/4 because we put the tape on, or the paper around. So I'm just going to say that make sure your top and bottom measure 6 1/4. Okay, so that's really important. Okay, so what I did is I just simply wrote up here at the top. Okay, so now what I need you to do is pull out 2 of the G's. So that would leave, let me see, I got them all mixed up already again. Let's see, D, oh there's G. I got to tell you guys, when I was doing my strips on my my chipboard, I realized that I had started covering up. I covered up all the writing that I had on the bottom. So I was actually having to go back into my templates to go measure out all these to get them to where they were the right sections. So, but that was like, oh gosh, I done made a really bad mistake. Alright, so now we have our top is up here, and then now we have our two sides, which are the alphabet G. So you would have two of those. Now this is going to be really important, and you're just going to have to be patient and hold things in place until the glue gets a little bit more dry. So I'm going to say this, that the outside of your side panel has to sit on top of your base. Not on the sides, but up on the top. Okay? And that's extremely important. Both of the G's have to be mounted like so. If I could hold it straight like that. But it has to be mounted just like that, and it has to be perfect. Okay? So just do your best. Just, you know, take your time, let the glue dry a little bit. I've got some masking tape over here, and it was really sticky, so I put it on my pants to get some of the stickiness out. But I figured once I get my glue, I'm going to put my glue right here on the edge. If you guys can see, right here on the edge is where I'm going to put my glue. Okay, and I'm going to use the art glitter glue. Okay, and we're just going to run a small little bead of glue right here, and then we're also going to run a small bead of glue right here on the top. Okay, and then we're going to join it together and just give it a few minutes to dry, and it'll be okay. And then if you can give it a few minutes to dry and you have your masking tape already on, like I could do it like this, lift up my masking tape and put it on the other side, and then once I glue this together, then I bring up my masking tape to hold it so it doesn't fall. Okay, so it's going to hold it in place. Now this is going to be kind of difficult for me to show you guys, but I'm going to do my best to try and show you what I'm doing. So let me see if I can zoom you in just a little bit. I might have to move you. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. So if you can see what I'm doing. Let me get this glare out of the way. Alright. So what we're going to do. Now right here, I already got the sticky of the Scotch tape. So I'm just going to lay it right here up underneath it. I'm not going to give it any pressure because I don't want it tearing my paper. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to run that small bead here of glue and right here as well. And then we're just going to hold it for a few minutes. I'm actually got a little desk fan. I think I'll turn that on. So I think this one's about to die. Yep, this one, the battery needs changing. So let me get another one. Okay. Alright, there we go. Okay. Alright, so I got my little dust fan blowing. So it's going to help me with my drying time. Okay, so that might be the noise that you guys hear. Okay, so, and we'll go ahead and get started. I hope you guys can see. Alright, put a bead of glue right here. You just got to envision that the glue, you need it to be only 1/8 of an inch wide. And I think that's why everybody likes the fine tip on the art glitter glue, is because it can be very precise. I mean, you don't want glue going everywhere, and especially down the sides of your cardstock, because some of that will be seen as we are constructing our storage unit. Okay, just like that. I mean, you don't need a whole lot because we are gonna reinforce these sides, so don't think this is what it is to hold it. I'm just trying to be very, very precise in getting these edges matched up. I'm going to give it a little bit of pressure. Let me get my fan over here so my fan can help me. And then I'm just going to just slightly lift this up so it can hold it in place. Okay. There you go. Now at this point right here, I like to take a little bit of art glitter glue, and I want to put some over here on this side. This is going to act like a caulk, like you're caulking something to close up gaps. That's what this is going to be used for. Alright. Alright. So we're just going to get that to hold for just a little bit. Alright. Now we're going to start on the other side. And I didn't get the... Let me put this where this can dry until I can get set up for the next side. Yeah, so we're going to, reinforce the sides, if you could say so. I don't want to make it confusing, but... Alright, so if you can see how it's trying to take formation, and what we want is, we want a really nice good rectangle here. And we want to make sure these sides stay dry at a perfect, I think that's a 45-degree angle. I'm not sure, but you just want to make sure it's symmetric to making a square, if I could say. So, alright, so I got me some more tape, and I'm telling you guys, it's really, really sticky. So, but I find it very helpful just to stick it to my pants to get some of that stickiness off, because you want to be able to pull this right back off, so that way you can use it for a different way to put it together. So okay, now that we have our sides nice and dried, I let mine dry for a few minutes because I really want to make sure that these sides stay down for me. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is make sure your top is, well, it doesn't matter, choose whatever top or bottom you want to do, but on number D, we're going to take one of the D's, D for dog, and it's actually going to be glued right on top of the base and right in between, and it's going to be glued something like this. Let me get this straight in here so you guys can see, but it has to be flush with the sides. So if you can see I put it in there and it has to be flushed. Okay, so that has to be flushed right there. All right. So, and just like what I say, that the most tricky part of it is working with the glue to make sure we get it in the spots that it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue one of the bottoms to D, and I'm just going to put a fine little strip of glue right here on the bottom of this chipboard. Well, it's going to be the bottom anyway. Alright, so let's go ahead and I'm going to move my flaps out just a little bit. Not too much where you're overwhelming it and you're going to tear it off. But I want to line up my bottom all the way to the very bottom. And even if I have to push in between my sides. Now, I want to make sure that that's going to fit really nice and glued right in there. Now, what I want you to do right now is take like a bead of glue and run it right here on the top. Okay? And then you're just going to smooth that out. Get me a napkin here. And you're just going to smooth it out. Okay? That's it. That's all I want you to do. Okay, now for the inside, you're going to do the same thing with your precise needle point. And you're going to run glue right here in the very back. Okay? And then that'll close up that hole for you as well. Remember, like I said, it's going to be like a little bead of clock. Okay, now for the sides, because as you can see, we haven't got them down to get them glued down. Now, the easiest way I found to have them glued down at this point is to open it up just a little bit and use your needlepoint glue to put glue right there on the top. And then you're going to press that together. And try and hold it there for a few minutes. Okay. Now this certainly isn't going to be holding your box together and things. I mean, we've got more things to do on the outside. So, but this is just to help bind it together until we can get to the part where we need to do more construction to them to make sure that our sides are really going to be bounded together. Now I'm going to run another strip, a little bit of glue right here on the other side. Okay, and then I'm just going to line it right up. Just like this. And then I'm just going to hold it for a few minutes. Well, for a few seconds anyway. Okay. Alright, now what I like to do is, at this point, I want to make sure that everything is lined up perfectly. And I like to take that bead of glue once again and run it right here on the edge. Kind of like closing that up a little bit. Okay. And then over here on the inside, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to run a small bead of glue right up to the edge. And it's just going to close in that gap. And with white glue that I'm using, art glitter glue, it dries clear, so you're not going to be able to see that anyway. Okay. And this side too as well. I don't know if you can see in there, but let's see if the camera will focus. But you see how you can see some of those gaps in the corner right there? That's what I'm covering up with the glue, okay? And you're just going to put it right here in the corner. And then just run that bead of glue right here on the side. And just clean up any of your edges. If you've got any excess glue, just go ahead and clean those up too as well. Alright, so looks like this is going to stay. So at this point in time, I think we could probably move to the next step. Let me flatten my edges out here. Flatten those edges. Alright, now let's do this. Before we go any further, we're going to start on thinking about our design paper. What kind of design paper you want your storage unit to look like. Now, what I've done is I went on ahead and I've already picked out a theme. A theme like what I want for all of my little storage units and things like that. So what I've done is I've picked this digital paper, and I did buy it off of Etsy, but unfortunately it's retired, so I can't tell you the name of the artist. So, but what I'm gonna do is we need to pick out our paper, and we also need to go ahead and put it on the inside, and then down here and over here, okay? The only reason why is because a lot of these, as we're putting in our shelves, we won't be needing any strips. So at this point in time, you want to go ahead and start covering up your shelves. Now, what I've done is I went on ahead and pre-cut a bunch of these that I'll be putting down. Of course, this one has to be cut down because of the sides coming in on it. So what we're going to do is pretty much assure to cut, and we're going to get all of this right here covered, and this two sides covered, and this bottom side right here covered. So let's get that part done first. And thought I had my what did I do? Did I not cut my backs? Okay, so let's do this. For the inside, let's see. For the inside, how we can do that. Okay, you're like, oh gosh, Lois, how are you going to do this now? Now, I'm really not a very good person when it comes to measuring. The inside of this, I did measure mine. Okay, and mine comes up with the inside as being 6 1/8, and then it's going to be by 2 1/2. So let's go ahead and cut that real quick. And you can also too, if you wanted to, you could also, how you could get your measurement is, you know, pretty much place it right here. You want to start with the height of it. And then what you want to do is just make a little pencil mark right here on the side. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut your height first. So let's go ahead and do that. And like I said, I just did that by eyeballing it. So I did take the measurements, so we'll see how this turns out by doing the eyeballing it. Alright, so I'm gonna put my design paper right there and cut. Alright, so now we want to make sure, I'm working with the back side because I think that by putting pencil marks on the back side, I don't have to go back and erase. Alright, so putting our paper in, we've got it now cut to the height that we need, or cut to the length. And and I'm going to have my design paper be completely on the sides. Now, of course, you could cut your design paper, say if you got this inside measurement and you wanted to cut it where some of the white is showing. Well, of course, what I would do is, now that I've got my paper measured at 6 1/8, is what I would do is I would move it over and take off 1/4 of an inch. Okay? And by doing 1/4 of an inch off of it, gives you 1/8 of an inch on each side, if that makes sense. So that way you can see your white strips if you wanted to do that. But then you asked me, well, Lois, that was the whole purpose in having some white show inside with the design paper. And it would work out well that way. But however, I just decided that I just want my design paper to go from side to side with no spacing. Okay? So that might be helpful for you in the future, is if you are eyeballing something to get the width of it and you wanted 1/4 of an inch on each side to show for the white, you could certainly do that too as well. So, but what I'm going to do is, and I'll show you right here, because I'm going to go ahead and do mine from side to side. Come on, paper, work with me. Alright, from side to side. And all I'm going to do is just make like a little mark right there. And I know that that's going to be my top. Okay, so now, can't see it. I like this Fiskars cutting tool. I don't know what to say, but I like this one is because it has a wire, and the wire sits down directly where it's going to cut. And I like that because now I can see exactly where I need to cut. So I'm in love with this Fiskars cutter. Okay, so now we've already done that part. So let's put our paper back in. And it's going to sit in just like that. Just like that. So when you're looking at it this way, this is what it's going to look like. So now we're going to cover up our sides and our bottom, and this too as well. And let's see. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do that now. Let me measure out. I'm kind of missing something. I thought I had some things already pre-cut, but unfortunately I guess I didn't. But so anyway, grab your design paper and then just start doing what I'm doing. You can go ahead and certainly measure up everything, use all your scraps and things like that. And see, that's what I like. I like the flow. I don't like the breakup with white. If you was to do 1/8 of an inch on each side, that's what I don't want. I want mine to evenly flow together, if that makes sense. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, being I've already used this one piece of scrap paper, is I'm just going to lay it in there and make sure that it's all the way down. And now you want to get your cut, and all I do is just make a little mark right there on the side of the paper. Okay? And then I'm going to come up here, and I know I can look at this visually and see that the paper is too long. So what I'm going to do is just make a little mark going all the way down. Oops. All the way down. And then just make a little mark for the top. So that's what I've done. Made a mark for the top, and then also too, I've got a strip that I have to cut off. And this is called a sure to fit, is what I think it should. Well, it should be. Anyway. This is the fun part of measuring. You just eyeball it, because you know what? I'm not very good at math. Okay, so, and let's cut this little strip off. It looks like a 1/16 of an inch. Yep, it is 1/16 of an inch. We'll cut that off if we can. I need to get a new blade. Alright, messed it up just a little bit, but that's okay. We'll put this piece in the back and you'll never know it. Alright, so now we've got this to put in. So I think I might take off a little bit more off at the top. Let's turn this around. Let me see if I've done something different. Okay, so yeah, so that top still needs to be cut just a little bit more. So where's my handy scissors at? I can pretty much cut a 1/16 of an inch. My Fiskars cutting tool is needing a new blade. So see, I just cut off like a 1/16 of an inch. Alright, so let's see what we can do. So, is it going to fit? And I'm probably using the other side. Let's see. Yep. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. I don't know. What do you think, huh? I like that where it flows together. You know, that was what I did like for my garbage bowl. My little garbage tray, shabby garbage tray. But like what I did is I just went all the way from this to this, you know. And my battery's flashing. It's time for me to change. I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we've got the matching for this side, and then of course we've got to match up this one and go match up that one. So while I'm doing that too as well, I'll be right back after I get done doing mine, okay? Okay, so now I've got all my pieces cut out, and I've just got them set in there for right now. So what we're going to do is go ahead and glue them down. So what I want to do is to make sure I don't get these mixed up, is that I'm going to set my sides directly where they came from. Okay, and then of course we have our bottom. And if I can get it back out, here comes the back. And the bottom doesn't want to come back out now, does it? There it goes. Okay, now at this point, you may want to distress your edges. The reason why is because if you wanted to put this here and everything else is all distressed or whatever, you're going to find that white ridge on that paper is going to poke out a little bit. I mean, it's going to be like somebody with OCD or something that is in crafting. But so at that point, you can either leave it blank like this, or you can distress it like what I did to this. Okay, and I used worn lipstick on this one. I think that's the name of it. Where are you? It is, yep, it's worn lipstick. I don't know if you can see that because of the glare, but it is. It's worn lipstick. Okay, so I figured that one was going to be a bit closer. So this is what it kind of looks like if you distress the edges. And like I said, the white ridge is now the distress color, so you don't see it. So I didn't know if I'd like to add a little bit of, you know, vintage style to it or whatever, but I think I am. So what I'd like to do is I want to go ahead and distress these now before I glue them down. So let's go ahead and do that. And all I'm going to simply do is just go around my edges. I'm kind of really mean to my paper. I don't know why, but I am. I'm rough with it. And you're just going to distress your sides just like that. Kind of adds a little bit of extra to it. You know, it's like, oh gosh, that looks so pretty. but you don't have to use the same color I'm using. You can use whatever you want. All right, so what do you think? Think that's gonna be okay? Okay, so now this is gonna go here in the bottom because that's exactly where I got it from. And remember, like what I said, is that I wasn't gonna have any 1/8 of an inch on each side showing. That I was just gonna make all my paper flow together, okay? So what we're gonna do is just get our art glitter glue, and we're just gonna put it around here on the edges. Now, if you wanted to, you could use double-sided tape if you wanted, but to me at this point, you're just putting on your design paper, and I really don't think that it would matter if you use double-sided tape or use glue at this point. Whatever you want to use. Now, what I did earlier, like I told you, is that I assured to fit. So I have to make sure that this goes back in the exact way that I mimicked the cut. There we go. Get your bone folder and just kind of place that glue right to the chipboard there. Okay, give it a nice press. That's all you gotta do. So that's what that looks like. So if you just stress the paper and then right here on your square flat edge, it really looks nice. So I like it the way it is. So, but you're fixing to see in just a second as soon as I get all of this glued in. So I'll speed it up a little bit because I'm just gonna keep recording and do the inside. Okay. I got all of my sides glued down and I did the distressing too on them as well. So what do you think? Is that not gorgeous? I'm loving it already. I'm loving it. Loving it. So anyway, so that's what I got going on. So now at this point, we should say, let's go ahead and do our outside cover. So you got 3 sides and you have a whole complete back to do. All right, we're going to do the same scenario of my popular measurements. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up my design paper just like so, and then we're just going to cut the back. Alright, so let me show you what I got. So I'm going to line up the back of this to the design paper and start at the corner and work your way to each side, making sure that you're not over and you are on the corner. Okay, and then hold it down and then just simply make a pencil mark right there on the side and another pencil mark here at the top. And this is what you have. So, I get my Fiskars cutter. I'm just going to line that up. For this cutter, I line it up with the wire that's in there. So, always want to cut the top. You always want to cut the top. You save yourself more paper. I think anyway. I mean, that's my perception. So, my advice anyway. Not that you have to take my advice, right? Okay, so we'll do this one because I wanted the dark of this print paper to be down at the bottoms. So every time I see one that's like distressed, really dark, what I'm going to do is I'm going to butt it up right next to the side of it because it looks like it's continuous, okay? But the paper got cut all different ways. So I think, I'm not sure, but it almost feels like I need to take a 1/16 of an inch off. Not sure. So my paper is lining up right on the money, except for it really does feel like I need to take 1/16 of an inch off. So let's see if it will do it for us. Yay! Yay! I need to order more blades for these. Okay. Line it up at the bottom. Yes, it feels much better. Much better. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that to the side, and then we're going to work on our sides. This bottom and this is the side. Now I've got one here that it's cut off, left over. So why not use that, right? So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to line up the paper where mine is anyway. I'm going to line up my paper right next to the next chipboard that's covered. And then I'm just going to mark and then I'm going to cut. Okay? So without moving it, don't move it, Lois. Don't move it. Let's see. Get it right back where it was. Oh, come on, Lois. Let's see. Right there. Right there. Come on. Alright, there we go. I keep moving it too much. Alright. Alright. Cut off your top or your sides the long way. Make sure they line up. It did. Okay, now this one. Okay. That worked out for having spare parts, didn't it? Excuse me. Alright, so this one's going to go here. I think I did it with the dark side down. And then let's see, I pushed it back. Feels like a 1/16 of an inch off. I should probably just start adding a 1/16 of an inch over. Let's see if we can get it to cut it. Alright, 1/16 of an inch. There we go. Yes. Thank you, blade. Thank you. Okay, now let's check. There's no wrong in having it wrong on the measurements. Of course, you know that if it's big, you can always go smaller, but you can never go small to big. Because once you've cut that, that's the end of it. Alright, so not sure about my let's do a 1/16 of an inch on this one. I might use this template to measure for the side on the other side. So let's see if we can get like a 1/16 of an inch cut off of this top. Okay, because it just feels a little bit too long. And then we'll measure it back up again. This is our sure to fit. A sure to fit. And I do believe it works. Okay, so I know that's what that is. So let's turn this around and see if it'll fit on this one. And it does. So let's just use this as a template. I know it won't fit on that because that's too small. But so let's cut out another one like this one. Alright, so let's assure to fit for this one. And it fits perfectly. And then this one goes on perfect. Okay, so let's get these. We'll get this and this distressed. Move our scraps to our little baggie over here full of them. Okay, so what we're going to do is then we're going to distress the edges. So you can go ahead and do that now, as well as what I'm going to go ahead and do now. Now I will say that once I get done with the distressing, I'm going to go to my scraps and see if I can't find one that will go from edge to edge. And then right here on the side, go from here to here. Okay, so go ahead and find that one in your design paper. And then when you get back to me, we should have this right here all completely done with the distressing and then gluing them into place. Okay, I got my two sides all stressed with my ink, distressed, and so I've got my back panel ready too. So now we're just going to go ahead and just put our design paper all over the back. Now, I've been using my paper here with the darknesses to the bottom. So that's how I'm going to place this one, just like this. And you can use double-sided tape if you want to at this point, or you can use Fabri-Tac if you want, or you can use any type of glue that you'd like to use for these back panels. Turn that around. So I gotta say, the last portion of the video was probably around about 6 o'clock last night. So my husband and I, we was late here last night. So now it's prior AM now. So, but just gotta say though, the weather is absolutely gorgeous outside. All right. Make sure that you line this up pretty well. Like I said, I chose mine to go all the way from side to side and bottom to top. And I make sure that these are on exactly where I want them. And just use your bone folder and looking good. Looking good, you guys. I'm loving it. Alright. Let's get the other one done. Put this one just like this. I gotta make sure that they are both the correct side. Because when you cut your paper, when you're doing your assure to fit, you're just making sure that you're putting your puzzle piece back together. So, and I think this one looks good okay over here. So let's go ahead and just glue this one down. Now, as you guys can see, that now we have a structure that is put together, and if you followed my directions, then by now you should start seeing something beautiful that you're creating. So, and I just love it. I mean, I have a lot of spare time when I'm not so busy remodeling our house or things like that, but when things are normal, as you might say, I have a lot of spare time. So doing crafts has become my second kind of nature to explore, and I've grown to love. You know, when my mom, she was a crafter, you know, so I grew up around it my whole life. She even had a ceramic shop where she made ceramics with her Kills oven that she had, that big old enormous round thing. But she had her own business where she made molds, and then she did classes and she taught them how to paint. And, you know, I've just always been around it all my life, you know. Her craft was definitely different from what I'm doing. Though I do love to paint. I have explored in painting. So, I gotta say though, I do like to do painting. So, and let's see, she went into crochet. Oh goodness, yeah, she went into crochets. And when she passed away, I winded up with all of her crochet. And I probably had like maybe 20 or more not finished projects. So it was like on me to continue her project that she had left undone, you know. So, but I've been working on one blanket, and it's been a very long time me working on that one blanket. But anyways, let's get out of the story time. Let's get the bottom put on. Alright, so what we're gonna do here for the bottom is all we're gonna do is just do what we did with the cutting of your designer paper or your digital paper. Now for me, all I'm gonna do is just simply put my box, I'm not sure, yeah, do I want to put my box, I'm looking at my paper, yes, I want it to go all the way to the end. Alright, so what we're gonna do here, now this is just for me because I'm not giving myself the 1/8 of an inch on each side of my paper to have the white show through. And you're just simply going to make some marks, cut where that is, you know, where you had measure, or how do you want to say, trim to cut. Alright, so don't forget to cut the top part or the tallness first, and then cut your width. Okay, so now let's assure to fit. Make sure this is going to fit. And let's see. And it does. However, I think I might want to take off like a 1/16 of an inch. Hang on. Let's see if we can get this bad baby to do this. With a dull blade, sometimes you don't get lucky, and I did. I did that time. Alright, so now, how do I feel? How does it look? 1/16 inch off at the top. And I think that's going to be in reference because I can't get my pencil up there very well. Or up around the edge of it. I can't get my pencil in there very much. So I think that's why I'm having a hard time with this 1/16 of an inch. So my apologies. Okay. Now let's see. Oh yes, fits much better. Okay, so let's go ahead and just distress our sides. Okay. And we're just going to get our art glitter glue. And do the same thing. Just glue it on. Now, I know I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but you might want to be thinking about what you want to do for feet. If you decide to put feet on your storage unit. I'm going to use metal feet on mine, and I'm going to actually paint mine white with white gloss. So that's what I'm going to do for my feet. So you might want to get to thinking about what you want to do for your feet. Sometimes I've used how do you want to say it? Beads from jewelry and stuff like that, like big chunks of beads or something like that. I mean, you can certainly, that's what I did wrong. Oh, I'm so glad I caught myself. I was like, kept feeling, and I kept feeling like a ridge right here, and I'm like, why am I feeling a ridge? I never went down to the very bottom. Silly woman. That could have been bad. Not really bad, but I would have had to try and cut it with a knife or something, and then try and not cut the rest of the board. So mistakes happen, right? But that's okay. There is no mistakes in crafting. Not shredding. Alright, now put it on the very back. Make sure we have really nice, good coverage. There we go. Much better. Much better, Lois. Make sure we get that glue burnished in really well. Okay. Alright, so now there we go. We're almost done. Almost done, y'all. Almost. Now, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and cover our 4 shelves that are left. So at this point, I went on ahead and I cut mine already, but I haven't distressed them yet. I've only done this one. So all you're going to do is you're just going to simply line these on your chipboard, and then on both sides. So that way when you put your shelf in, you've got up or down that you don't see any white cardstock or anything like that. You see both patterns on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get these all glued down, and once I get done with that, then we'll meet right back up with each other. So I'll be right back. All of our shelves covered. Don't they look pretty? I love them. I distress the edges before I put them on my shelves. So because I still want that white to be stark, that you can see in the front when you're putting your shelves in. So, but anyway, so now we got them all covered. So let's go into installing our shelves. Now this is going to be a bit tight, and the reason why is because we're not going to be using cardstock, how do you want to say it, cardstock trim that has flaps on it, and that you put one up here and then one up here. Well, the reason why I'm doing it this way is because once you have done that, you then need to put your pattern paper in to accommodate where those white strips are latching onto the sides. With doing it like this way, we don't have to worry about the designer paper anymore, and this was actually relatively easy, fast, and now they're all covered. So what we're going to have to do is, now this might be a little tough for you guys, and you're going to say, well, it doesn't want to fit all the way down. Well, that's the point. It needs to be snugged really tight and up against those edges. I know that looks crooked there, but anyway, you get the gist of it. So by using our guides, that's what's going to give us the width that we are needed to make our shelves. And then these need to be snugged real good down at the bottom. Real good snugged at the bottom. Okay, that's what I want you to do. Okay, now at this point, once you know that you've got this all the way to the back and your guide is standing straight up, okay, and you've got a really good latch right there up against the side, what I want you to do now is to take your art glitter glue, and you're going to make a bead of glue right here towards the back, and then you're going to come forward with your bead of glue. Now don't forget, this dries clear, so if you've got a little bit of oozing, it'll be okay. And then now I just want you to hold it in place just for a few minutes. Turn it upside down if you need to. Make sure it's up against that guide tool real tight. See, this is what mine looks like so far. Sorry about that, but yeah, so there's the small bead of glue that I put right there in that corner of the shelf. Okay, so I want that to stay just like that. Okay, I don't want it to be wiped out, not just yet. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, now that that is right there in good place, now I need to work over here. I know it might be a little loose over here because the glue isn't set up like it's supposed to. Like, it doesn't set up instantly. Okay, over here, we need to make sure we're doing the same thing. Make sure your tool guide is all the way to the back, and you push down your shelf, and then you're going to apply pressure just like what I did. Okay, so now we're going to run a bead of glue because it's all set. And I think it looks pretty good. It's not crooked or anything else like that. So now I'm going to take a small thing of bead of glue, and I'm just going to start right here in the back, so you can see right here in the back, and I'm just going to run it just like that. Okay, and it'll be okay once it dries, guys. It'll be just fine. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just wait for this to set up. Just keep applying pressure to it until you think that it's really good and dry, that you can move on to the next stage. Okay, I brought out my fan to help me get this dried. Alright, so the next step, what you're going to do, now that this is somewhat semi-placed, I can actually take these out now. And then now we've got it where it's going to dry perfectly where it is right now, okay? So now what we need to do is take our art glitter glue, and we're going to put a bead of glue in the very back on top of that shelf. And all we're doing right here is just simply using our glue to make it where it looks like it was filled in with caulk, I guess, if you might want to say. Alright, so once that's in there, that's all you need to do. Okay, so that shelf is good to go, and we're ready to move on to the next shelf. Now, putting in my shelf here, I need to make sure that I'm not going to put on too much pressure on the other shelf, because the other shelf is drying. So what we need to do is make sure that we put it in place and get a really nice place where it's going to go, and you're not putting pressure on the bottom shelf, because it's still in drying stage. So what we're going to do is we're just making sure that we push our shelf right up next to where the guide tool is. I mean, you don't want to squish it really too bad because you got the movement of the shelf at the bottom because it's still trying to dry. Okay, now that I feel like I've got it all the way to the back, make sure you go all the way to the back. And now I'm going to go ahead and put a bead of glue here, here, and here. Okay? And make sure that everything is squeezed together. Okay? And you're not putting pressure on this shelf down here. Because if you did, it would wind up making everything move out of the way or get out of square. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just put a bead of glue right here in the back. Just like that. Oops. Okay, just like that. Alright, so now you could probably see I've got like a bit of a gap right here. So I need to make sure to put pressure on this. So all I'm going to do is just simply run a bead of glue right along that shelf. Just like that. Now I'm going to apply pressure. Making sure my guides tools are in their position. Okay. And I have my little handy fan here that helps dry the glue a little bit faster. Sorry, I need to drink some water. Let me grab some water real quick. Oh, that's drying. Make sure I keep pressure on it because it's needing contact right here at the top. We only got 2 more shelves to go. You could go ahead and see if you can get everything positioned for the next shelf while you're waiting. And then this one will be the very top one, which will go in like so as well. So it's getting there, guys. It's getting there. We're almost there. Now when I get done with my shelves, excuse me, when I get done placing all my shelves where they need to go, I'm going to actually place something really heavy on this, and I'm actually going to let it all dry really well and make good contact. I have like this big huge CPA book, and it's quite big, but it's more heavy than big. And I use it quite often to help me in my crafting as I'm trying to make that glue dry a little bit faster to make more contact. Alright, I'm going to check that out. I got to make sure that I've got plenty of glue on my sides and it's going to dry just the way I want it to. So now we're going to move the move your guide tools out. Let me move my fan out the way. My guide tool is sticking to the glue, so we've got to make sure that once we're in there really good, we've got to move our guide tool out. It didn't hurt anything, but it's fine. because when I'm asking you to put it in and put it up right against the side, I'm actually putting my guide tool inside the glue. So that's not very helpful, is it? There we go. I could use the guide tool for that, couldn't I? Smooth out that glue. There we go. Hey, who would ever know? Alright. So, now we're ready for the next one. I think that's going to dry pretty good. Alright, so let's get ready for our next one and get our guide tools up next to it. And then we're going to place our next shelf. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to be butting up against the guide tool just a little bit. We don't want to push the other shelf because the other shelf is still drying. And we want to make sure we get it pushed all the way to the very back. You don't want to have gaps back here in the back. Okay, so now I've got it in, and we're going to go ahead and do the same procedure by running the bead glue all around the top side. Okay, and make sure your shelf is nice and snug to the guide tool. Okay, and then put the glue on. Okay. And then this one over here, let's do the back side first. Okay, just like that. All right, now I've got to where I have to add pressure to it. So I'm just going to make a bead of glue. And hopefully it'll get right there on the edge of that, the edge of your shelf. Alright, go ahead and pull out your guide tools. So remember, we didn't want them to start sticking to everything really fast. Alright, so all I'm doing is just adding pressure, trying to give time for that glue to dry. Okay. You know me and my glue, I get glue everywhere. But to me, I don't think there's not enough glue. You can't have not enough glue. So all I'm doing is I'm just actually going around and just trying to clean up my edge a little bit where it did ooze out. Now I know this does not want to stay down, but I'm trying to make sure that the front of it looks even and we don't have wonky shelves. I think one of them that I did in the very beginning, it was wonky too as well, but it served its purpose. So, and it was mine, but I finished using it or finished doing it, and now I use it. So okay, now that we have this shelf already mounted, now we're going to work on the top one. Now this is going to be really important because we're not going to use our guide tools on this. We're actually going to make sure we put it in, and it is, oops, it's upside down, isn't it? Okay, hang on, wait a minute. Now I'm eyeballing this, you guys, but what I'm trying to do is get back to 1/4 of an inch from the top and make sure I get snugged in there really well. And I don't want a wonky shelf, so I got to make sure it fits nice and tight. And then we're going to put the book on it and let it dry overnight, so it looks similar to this. So that's what I did. I'm just making sure that I actually have 1/4 of an inch right here on the sides and as well as the back. Okay, now you asked why. For the reason we're not using the guide tool is because at this stage the guide tool is a little bit too big and it pushes this side up to the very top that you don't have a lip ledge here. So what I decided to do was not use the guide tool. Okay, we're just manipulating, but you really won't be able to tell once you start just fitting it in at 1/4 of an inch all the way around on the sides. And if you can do that, then once that is dried, what I'm going to do, as I've done in all of the shelves, is put my glue in right here. And then, like I said, I've got a big book that I'm going to set this in and let it dry for just a little bit. And then of course when we come back, we're going to talk about the feet that you want to put on this. Now I'm going with the pink feet. Now I spray painted these myself and this is what they look like. And when we get done, the feet are actually going to sit on it just like this. Okay, on the corners. Alright, and we're actually going to use screws to screw in our feet. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing next. I said that I was going to go with the white, but I changed my mind. I had spray painted this for a different project and I didn't like the pink up against my design paper, so I put them back in my box and they work perfect for this little project, so I'm gonna use them. Alright, so what we need to do is kind of just eyeball it 1/4 of an inch, okay, and make sure you get all the way back there in the back. Alright, and then you want to hold your shelf really snugged until you can flip it over to put the book on. Okay, so just make sure you got like 1/4 of an inch. I can see that these two corners are exactly the same measurement. Okay, you see that? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put glue on it. I'm going to start up here at the top. You want to make sure there's no air bubbles. So when you put your layer of glue down, you want to make sure there's no air bubbles. And if there is, just add a bit more, little bit of glue into the area. Okay. Alright, now here we come to the sides. And I'm just going to go ahead and start from the back. And I'm going to hold my shelf where I think that the 1/4 of an inch is. Make sure I get the glue where it's in its place. Okay. Now I'll do the second one. Now I'm going to use my guide tool so I can smooth out some of that glue. Just like that. Okay. And then this side too as well. I'm just going to use my guide tool and kind of smooth that glue out. I mean, the glue is going to dry clear. Make sure you don't have any air bubbles. See some right here. But the glue is going to dry clear, so you're not really going to see all of that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, guys. Leave it just like that. Okay, and let that dry really good. Now I'm going to grab my CPA book. And I'm actually going to put this right on top of it. Just like that. And I'm going to allow that to dry before I do anything else. So drying time is important when doing these projects. So but yeah, so let's let that dry really good for a little bit, and when I come back, then we'll go ahead and do the feet, so you guys can get ready to start doing your feet too as well. We'll chit chat with that, but for now I'll let this dry.